Mary Kay Cabot came through and dropped a bomb on the NFL world, especially the Cleveland Browns world. She's being dragged right now for saying that the competition should be over. Just name Deshaun Watson QB1 now and let's cook.
You might have clicked on this. The Sanders family had said, well, Shilo Sanders replied to this quote on Instagram and actually said, go make a sandwich, Mary. Well, first of all, unfortunately for Shilo, I think if there was any chance that he would get signed with the Browns, that is probably over with now after that comment. Shilo likely not going to get an opportunity here.
If you're going to be a reporter and report facts. Whenever you have your opinion, and your opinion is always something hateful to Shedeur, then it makes it seem like it's something weird, like it's an agenda that you have going on.
The Cleveland Browns are trapped in the center of a toxic media hurricane, and a standard quarterback competition just violently escalated into a personal internet war. When an award-winning NFL reporter dropped a narrative bomb claiming the Browns' cornerback race was essentially over, the football world stopped. But nobody was prepared for the explosive retaliation from the Sanders camp. Shilo Sanders boldly took to Instagram, tagged the veteran reporter, and bluntly told her to go make a sandwich. That single incendiary comment instantly broke the internet. It sparked a wave of outrage, dragged the Cleveland front office into the mud, and fundamentally altered the power dynamics of this upcoming season. This is no longer just a story about who gets to throw the football. This is a high-stakes battle over media manipulation, guaranteed money, and a desperate franchise actively trying to control a narrative slipping through their fingers. If you think this is just standard training camp drama, you are completely missing the dark reality of what is actually happening in Cleveland.
Now, we all know Mary Kay Cabot came through and dropped a bomb on the NFL world, especially the Cleveland Browns world. And she's getting eviscerated online. You got people calling into question her sources. We all know she is very much so a part of the anybody but Shedeur mafia. And I think more so than questioning her sources, she's being dragged right now for saying that the competition should be over. Just name Deshaun Watson QB1 now and let's cook.
To truly understand the chaos engulfing this franchise, you have to look closely at the exact report that started this fire. Veteran Browns beat reporter Mary Kay Cabot confidently published a story stating the quarterback competition in Cleveland should be over. She pushed the narrative that Deshaun Watson has the undeniable inside track, and the coaching staff should simply declare him QB1 right now, end the drama, and let the veteran cook. On the surface, that might sound like a run-of-the-mill football opinion, but look at the highly specific timing of this report. It makes zero logical sense. We are talking about the earliest stages of voluntary spring training. Half the established veterans aren't even fully participating. Newly acquired weapons like Jerry Jeudy have barely unpacked their bags. None of the highly touted rookies have been given a legitimate, full-speed opportunity to prove themselves against live defensive schemes. To aggressively push for the immediate coronation of a struggling veteran before the young quarterback has legally taken a snap in full pads is incredibly suspicious. The second you publicly declare a competition over in the spring, you are no longer reporting on a positional battle. You are actively trying to end it before it legitimately begins.
To advocate for Deshaun Watson after everything we saw, everything we endured, not to mention the off-the-field stuff, but the on-the-field, when you compare Watson's last 7 games to those 7 games we saw Shedeur start. Shedeur, better record. Watson was 1-6, folks. Shedeur, more passing yards. Shedeur, more touchdowns.
Before the digital ink on that controversial report could even dry, the Sanders family aggressively inserted themselves into the narrative. Shedeur Sanders is heavily scrutinized, but it was his older brother, Shilo, who decided to fire back. Responding directly to Cabot's QB1 claim, Shilo typed his now infamous response. The internet reaction was instantaneous and brutal. Whether you agree with the unfiltered nature of his defense or find the comment deeply offensive, the undeniable reality is the message was received loud and clear. The Sanders camp is not buying the narrative the Cleveland media is pushing. This isn't just a simple disagreement over depth charts. This is raw, boiling frustration. This is a deeply held belief by those closest to Shedeur that the narrative surrounding his career is being artificially shaped in a way that defies reality. Instead of backing down from the public backlash, Shilo Sanders doubled down. He took to his Twitch channel the very next day and launched a full-scale verbal assault on the integrity of the reporting. He looked directly into the camera and said, "If you're going to be a reporter and report facts." He accused Cabot of operating with emotion and claimed her opinions were constantly hateful toward his brother, making it seem like a hidden agenda. This explosive livestream ripped the mask off an underlying tension brewing in the sports media world. Loyal, exhausted Cleveland fans flooded social media, echoing Shilo's concerns. There is a very real growing sentiment among educated football fans that an anybody-but-Shedeur mafia operates within the established media. Whenever certain reporters speak about the young quarterback, the tone seems heavily laced with subtle doubt and a bizarre eagerness to highlight his flaws while ignoring his elite traits. To be completely fair, Mary Kay Cabot is not a random blogger. She is a highly connected journalist who won the prestigious Bill Nunn Memorial Award from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. She has deep knowledge of the game and powerful sources inside the building, which is exactly why her response to Shilo's insult was a masterclass in public relations. Appearing on a local Cleveland radio station, Cabot completely ignored the mudslinging and took the highest road possible. She stated she believes she has been an inspiration for women and young girls, showing them they can do a good job in a man's world. By refusing to engage with the sheer pettiness of the insult, she elevated herself above the fray. But make no mistake, while Cabot secured a massive PR victory, this entire ordeal created an absolute nightmare for Shedeur Sanders. He is just trying to keep his head down, learn Todd Monken's playbook, and win a starting job. Having a family member create a massive distraction by publicly attacking a legendary local reporter makes an already complicated locker room situation infinitely stickier.
She actually won the Bill Nunn Memorial Award last year, which is given to the top football journalist. So she has knowledge in what it is that she's talking about and what it is that, is going on, whether she's female or not.
Yes. Which brings us to the multi-million-dollar ghost haunting every hallway of the Cleveland Browns facility. You cannot have a rational, honest conversation about Deshaun Watson's status without aggressively confronting the catastrophic reality of his recent on-field performance. People in the media are acting like Watson is still the elite, MVP-caliber superstar he was half a decade ago in Houston. The cold, unforgiving statistics paint a completely different, terrifying picture. Look closely at the numbers from his most recent stretch of football. Watson posted a truly abysmal 1-6 record over a critical span of games. He was taking significantly more sacks than expected. His pocket awareness looked shattered, and his overall passing efficiency aggressively plummeted to the bottom tier of the entire NFL. We are talking about a fully guaranteed franchise quarterback, statistically ranking near the absolute bottom in crucial offensive categories. Yes, he has dealt with publicized shoulder injuries and mitigating factors, but the bottom-line reality of the NFL is that the on-field production has unequivocally not matched the historic financial expectations. That is not a biased opinion. That is a mathematical fact.
She's being dragged right now for saying that the competition should be over. Just name Deshaun Watson QB1 now and let's cook. None of the rookies have shown up. A lot of the veterans aren't there. Jerry Jeudy just showed up after the draft. It's just like, it doesn't make sense. And I think that itself, it was one thing to say, hey, my sources are telling me that Deshaun Watson is in the lead right now.
Yet, despite this glaring mountain of negative evidence, The Cleveland media machine is trying to convince the public that Watson deserves the starting job without a fight. Compare that struggling veteran directly to the raw tape of Shedeur Sanders. When you put their most recent stretches of football side by side, the media narrative falls apart. In Shedeur's comparable spans of recent starts, he boasts a significantly better winning percentage. He has consistently thrown for massively more passing yards and generated more passing touchdowns. Perhaps most importantly, the overall offensive flow and operational tempo look vastly more competent and dangerous when the ball is comfortably resting in his hands. Is Shedeur a flawless prospect right out of the gate? Of course not. He is a young player actively developing his internal clock and adapting to the suffocating speed of NFL defenses. But the undeniable gap in actual modern football production between the struggling veteran and the hungry young quarterback is nowhere near as wide as these questionable media reports are desperately trying to make it seem. Aggressively declaring a permanent winner this incredibly early feels heavily forced and deeply manipulative. This media controversy exposes something even darker hiding behind the closed doors of the Browns organization. A massive disconnect between the front office and the press. Head coach Todd Monken has stood in front of the flashing cameras and publicly stated that this is a wide-open, genuine competition. When asked about declaring a starter before training camp, Monken bluntly told the press, "I'm not there yet, so I can't say that. We've been on the field 3 days." He has clearly emphasized that nobody currently has the inherent advantage, that the coaching staff is evaluating every single practice rep, and that it is simply too early in the spring to make definitive decisions. That is the official stance of the Cleveland Browns. You have to ask yourself a highly uncomfortable question. If the head coach is publicly preaching patience and open competition, who exactly is secretly whispering in the ears of prominent reporters, telling them the race is already over? That glaring gap between the coaching message and the leaked media narrative is exactly where all this toxic tension bleeds from. Prominent reporters do not just invent these narratives out of thin air. They are actively fed information by powerful people with heavy agendas. Is the ownership group desperately trying to justify their historically scrutinized financial investment by slowly preparing the fans for a Watson start?
Consider this. It is a real competition, and she's just stirring stuff up as she always does. I believe that the Browns will tell her things, and she probably takes it away, runs with it, and makes it a rumor that, isn't necessarily the case. Like, for example,
this situation is rapidly becoming dangerous for the overall stability of the entire Cleveland Browns locker room. If Deshaun Watson is eventually named QB1 based on his massive contract rather than his actual practice performance, and he predictably struggles in the first few weeks of the regular season, all of this toxic media drama violently comes rushing back. Every single leaked claim and aggressive push to prematurely crown him will be weaponized by the angry fans. The crushing pressure on the coaching staff will become completely unbearable. On the flip side, if Shedeur Sanders clearly outperforms the veteran in practice, but never gets a fair shot because the front office is terrified of benching their financial investment, that instantly becomes a massive national storyline. You do not want that toxic cloud of perceived unfairness hanging over your 53-man roster. Players intimately know exactly who the best quarterback on the field is. If the coaches actively lie to the locker room by starting the inferior player just to save face, the entire locker room culture violently fractures. The terrifying reality is that the Cleveland Browns might be desperately trying to artificially control the natural reaction cycle of their own fan base. If the front office can use the media to gently ease the public into the highly unpopular idea of Watson starting Week 1, maybe the inevitable backlash later in the summer won't be quite as catastrophic. But NFL fans clearly see what is happening right in front of their eyes. They have exhaustingly heard the repetitive "Watson looks great in practice" storyline for years, only to painfully watch the entire offense violently collapse when the actual games begin. Instead of calming the waters, this transparent media manipulation is actually doing the violent opposite. Fans have a desperate, burning desire to actually see a completely fair, unbiased competition genuinely play out on the grass, not just be arrogantly told what the predetermined outcome is going to be by a reporter in the spring. We are officially standing at a franchise-altering turning point. This is entirely about organizational credibility, the rapid erosion of fan trust, and exactly how the Cleveland Browns management team handles one of the highest-stakes decisions of their entire season. Young, inexperienced organizations usually make a fatal mistake in these exact moments. They rush for artificial clarity instead of actually earning it. They want the illusion of stability right now to quiet the noisy press, but the absolute best coaching move is extreme patience. Let the grueling practice reps dictate the depth chart. Let the actual, undeniable on-field performance decide the winner, not the flashy headlines, the guaranteed contracts, or the social media drama. The truth always reveals itself on the gridiron, and Cleveland is about to find out exactly what happens when you try to hide it.